Evening, folks. Welcome to The View. And as you can see already, there's two fantastically talented content creators sitting directly above me here. Just Joe from the Just Joe show, and Ollie Ward as well. And I'm delighted to have the guys on the show. So firstly, a massive thanks. Joe, how's things? Long time no speak.
Yeah, exactly. I had you yesterday, didn't I? But we were saying off there, I am the reason we are late, people.
Where is it? I have to find that.
Yeah. Imagine my shock, Joe.
I know, right? Everyone's saying Joe late again. It was my fault. Apologies. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, mate. It's a pleasure.
There we go. And then Richard,
that should be your YouTube banner, I reckon, Joe.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'll be there in a minute. So, Ollie, how's things? How are you?
Yeah, very good. I'm happy to be here. I watch this channel every day, so I'm happy to be on it. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Jesus, high praise. Appreciate that. There's loads of people in the comments. I'll stick comments up as we go through, and as the lads are talking, I'll do that as well. What I'm looking to do tonight, and we're just going to start off because there's a couple of things popped up today, and just get the lads' reactions on that. We're going to just start off with talking about the news that broke this evening about Maurizio Pochettino. Maurizio Pochettino. Not an easy name for me to say this time of the evening. Apparently, according to the Athletic, is on Leeds' shortlist to replace Marsh should things go wrong in the next couple of games. Joe, you've been having a quick look at it there, and Ollie, you've seen it as well. Joe, what do we think?
I genuinely didn't know, because best believe if I did, there'd have been a video out earlier. I've missed the boat.
Listen, I don't think you have.
No, listen, if ever that was a possibility, I'd be all over it, but I just don't believe it has any sort of validity, because Pochettino would not come to Leeds United. He's just left PSG and he's going to a top European club. If we were to listen, we pulled Bielsa off, but even still, Pochettino's even bigger than pulling that off, I think. So he's not coming to Leeds United, unfortunately, I would say.
Yeah. Ali, what do you take of it?
Yeah, I think it's a no-go. I think it's an easy link as well, because we know that Bielsa Poch is very, it was always there, when Bielsa leaves, Poch is coming in. That was always that thing flying around. But yeah, same with Joe. If it ever came up, then yeah, of course we'd be very happy to do so. But yeah, I personally don't see it happen. I see a non-story there.
Yeah, the same article. So for anyone who wants to check it out, it's on the Athletics website as well. It's floating around. MOT Leeds have it, and a couple of other places have it on Twitter as well. In the same article as telling us that Pochettino is on the is on our shortlist for a replacement for Jesse Marsh. It also says in it, but it's difficult to see a return to the Premier League with either Everton, West Ham, or Leeds. So in one article they say he's coming, and he's not at the same time. So, yeah, I'd like him. I like him. I like his style of play. It'd be very close to Bielsa. I think it's the only thing that's connecting him to Leeds is the Bielsa Newell's connection. I think that's
unfortunately, yeah.
It's unusual for the Athletic to be the ones doing the reaching, but I think they're reaching a little bit with this one. But we could see. We never know.
Never know.
Press conference was today as well. We got Cardiff at the weekend. Couple of bits and pieces. Pat Bamford is back in training this week, which is great to see. Things we like to see. And Lewis Sinisterra not far off it as well. Archie Gray slightly longer. He's ill at the moment. It's a bit of a fever, so he's out the weekend again. He's had a pretty start to his season as well. Outside of Stuart Dallas, everyone else looks okay. Adam Forshaw should be back in a week, they've said. Joe, you had a good look at the press conference today. What did you take out of it?
Sorry, I'm just unmuting myself. My dog's snoring here, so I don't want it to come through. So I just unmuted myself. Listen, you know me with Jesse. I'm not his biggest fan, and I find a lot of the press conference, I just get the same words coming out, churned out. But I actually enjoyed today's. He sounded like he was pretty buoyant and wants to give the cup, a good go. And as a Leeds fan, regardless, normally I would say concentrate on the league, but it's been that long now. Even under Bielsa, we never had a crack at it. I want to have a go at progressing in a cup. Give me a quarter, a semi. It'd be amazing. I don't even want to win it. I just want to get to the back end of it. You know what I mean? But in terms of like the injury stuff, Bamford, it's all good and well saying he's back training. Is he going to be match fit? Probably never, and even if he is, it'll be like Forshaw. Forshaw made 2 appearances and now he's out again, I feel like, I know we've just lost Click, but I was thinking about it today on my dog walk, like This is where I do a lot of my like pondering when I'm out walking the dogs. But Click's probably the only player that got through that Bielsa era unscathed, because I reckon the rest of them are all broke a little bit.
They look broken
as well. But Calvin, Bamford, Dallas, I know Dallas is a leg break, but they've had their issues, Forshaw being one as well. So I think it's a byproduct maybe of Bielsa's like insistence on training at such a high level that some bodies just break down. And I guess it was Bamford's best time of his career, but it's also cost him maybe a little bit. Yeah.
It's interesting about Dallas as well, because Dallas broke his femur, which is and Jack Grealish ran into him when he broke a femur. Now Jack Grealish isn't the toughest player in the world or the hardest player in the world. You'd imagine you just bounce off Dallas, who seems to be made out of concrete. But they always describe a femur break as a car crash injury, because it takes a car crash to break a femur. So you'd like to know what state was Stuart Dallas's femur in before he even made contact with him. Was there already like hairline cracks or stuff there from the amount of work that he gets through as well? And it's a tricky one with the injuries, but I'd love to see Pat Bamford back in the Leeds shirt scoring goals. I really would, but you just think another long spell out, he's going to get niggly injuries coming back in again. Same with Forshaw, we've seen that as well. So, Ollie, what's your take on them?
Yeah, we're in 2023 and we're still relying on these players. Do you know what I mean? That's why I just get a bit worried. I did love Click. I thought that's actually a really good point that Joe made about the whole Bielsa thing, that you're probably right. He is probably one of the only players who still, when he came on and things, was like fine, and obviously he didn't get a lot of injuries. I know Joe isn't the biggest Jesse fan, and you know what, I've always tried to defend him. I'm struggling to see the future, and I think, I don't know, I'm relying on these players like Bamford. It's all good and saying, like we said, he's back in training, but we've been wanting a striker for ages. You know, that Patrick Bamford season, the 18 goal season, Rodrigo's 8 goals off that, and we've got 6 months left. So once Rodrigo's done that, and hopefully he does do that, what's Bamford done in a Leeds shirt then? Do you know what I mean? And that sounds really harsh, but I just think I personally just think we need to move on from him. I do love the lad.
I'm right there with you. I love him, and I want it to be a success for him. But it's how much of it, like, do you need to move aside of? I want him to be fit and I want him to be successful, but at some point you've got to look and go, well, all the facts and all the evidence are saying he's done. He's not going to be that way. Like, even when he came back, he didn't look as composed in front of goal as he had 2 years ago. He looked very like the first year we had him in the championship, that snatching at things, and if it was on his right foot, forget about it. It wasn't going to be hit. Yeah. But I would like to see him come back. He's got a long contract with Leeds as well. So from Leeds' perspective, they kind of need to get him fit, even if they're to move him on. Like, he's right now, his market value is 0 unless they get him fit and playing a couple of games. Then they can possibly ship him out a little bit. But it's a tough one. But I think my hope is, and my hope has always been, that he stayed injured for most of January, because then we would go and get a number 9. But if he comes back fit, we'll see Angus Kinnear writing program notes, gaslighting everyone, saying, "Oh, well, look at this, we've got our number 9 back, and he'll be back in the England team in no time." Yeah, and I'm doing this.
Yeah, I actually saw someone say that today. They were like, "This is the best news for the board, seeing that Bamford's back in training," which is it's just funny, but scarily realistic and true.
The thing is as well, like when you look at his actual length of contract and what that'll cost the club if the reported 70k a week is on, it's like 14.5 million. Do you know what I mean? That's huge, man.
Yeah,
it's
huge.
I understand why they gave him the new contracts. He just had like 17, 18 goal season.
Yeah.
There was even links to like Spurs, weren't there? Just little, like maybe as an understudy to Kane, which you could sort of understand. And then naturally Leeds go, let's protect this guy's value. I understand it. It's just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and he's just brought down. And I don't think he'll ever get back, And I think, Joe, you make a fantastic point about the gaslighting. It really, really, really angers me that the football club tried to peddle that international number 9s when they knew behind closed doors he'd only trained 4 times. They knew that and still tried to feed us that. Jesse, everybody, Bielsa didn't even share just how bad it was for Bamford. And they still tried to say to us, oh, well, we don't need one because we've got, 2 number 9s. And it's like, well, you knew that the guy wasn't even training when you were saying this. So it's frustrating, you know. We definitely need a striker.
Yeah, I with the Leeds hierarchy, the whole stuff that's there at the moment, I'm a little bit more patient with Jesse than a lot of people are. I see some merit in him, but I see a lot of problems at the same time. I try to be balanced about looking at manage. My take on the manager is always, I want our manager to be successful, because then Leeds are. If I want him to get sacked, that means we have to be doing poorly for him to get sacked, and I don't want that. I want Leeds to be a success. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the board, Rads needs to stay off Twitter, and Angus Kinnear needs to stop writing program notes. For me, that solves a lot of problems, because between the two of them, Rads gets a bottle of red wine in his hand, a couple of glasses after a game, things have gone his way, and he's straight on the phone, you know. And then you get Angus Kinnear. You saw it with the statement at the back end of last year as well on Sky Sports, where he said Leeds are active in the transfer market. We're still active. We're still looking. And then we made a holy balls of the whole thing over the last 3 or 4 days of it. And you go, just don't talk. And I think at this moment in time, looking at what they're saying, and Jesse's just avoiding any transfer conversations to get dragged into the conversation. I think it's probably the right way to go. But I am a consistent person when I say Angus Kinnear likes gaslighting Leeds fans. I think he does. He does it too often for it to just be one off.
I think as well, and this was something I picked up from the press conference, that maybe that's another reason why they really, really like Jesse, in that, you know, they seem to be able to feed him information and he'll do as he's told in a way. And the reason I say that is because he said, I was actually taught, and this, again, I'm aware that I'm not his biggest fan, so sometimes I can use things to beat him with and not even realise I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? And then I actually sit back and go, would I have said that if that was a different guy? Maybe not. Is it because I'm, you know, always wanting to see the negatives in Jesse? And I am trying to, you know, have that sort of critical thinking before it actually comes out of my mouth. But today in the press conference, he said, like, we had a chat about the FA Cup with Angus, and he said to me, wouldn't mind an FA Cup run, and they were like, right, that's message heard. And I was a bit like, well, why does it, do you know what I mean? And can you imagine Angus having that word with Bielsa? They got told to, you know what I mean? Like, don't even talk to
me. He wouldn't have gone near him with that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So I was a bit like, are they having a little bit more influence? Do you know what I mean?
I'd say they are.
Yeah, I think we're seeing I think we're seeing a bit of a change in his press conferences recently. You know, when he first came in, he was a bit like, I'm the boss here, and like that. And now I get what you mean. There's a few things being said. He's keeping quiet. He doesn't want to get on the wrong side of the board. And the thing is, I am a Jesse fan. I am. And the one thing that I want to say that about Jesse is, I think we'll start to know when the play, because that team out there that plays each week is playing for Jesse, I think, at the moment. I think maybe not actually, you know, ability wise, we're up there, but I think they keep going, which I respect. And I think once we see that going, we'll start seeing, you know, because some people saying, the players aren't playing for Jesse, the players aren't. And I think as soon as you start to see that side of it, that's when we'll be a bit worried. But I still think, I just don't know if for the future, like, I know we got to stay in the now, but I do struggle to see the tactics. The man manager is brilliant. I like what he says, and he's a brilliant man manager. If we had him as a man manager and Bielsa on the tactics, we'd be all right. I'll tell you, we'll be fine.
Just the bits that I like about Jesse are, I like the fact that he's a really open, honest manager. That's the bit, because how many managers have we seen? I mean, Joe, you were saying, like, you hear the same thing said the same time, and if you take any Premier League press conference, the same managers, it's the same thing every week. It's the same, you know, cliches that are thrown out in press conferences. The thing I like about Jesse is we've got an idea what's going on behind the scenes. We've got an idea what he's trying to do. We've got an idea what he has a problem with. We know it's the, you know, believing in themselves is the biggest issue that he has in them right now, and you know, standing up and being brave in areas where it's compact and dangerous. I like that about him. I like to know what's going on in the club. I hate a manager who just, you saw with Heckenbottom was guilty of it. Just being negative with the press, just didn't like the press and didn't have a good relationship with them. And if you look at managers like Lampard, Steven Gerrard was the worst of it. Just went in, sat down with the press and gave them nothing, just nothing at all. And you're like, can you be that angry all the time? You know, constantly, even when you were winning things at Rangers, you're still angry all the time at the press. So I like that about Jesse. There is question marks around the defensive side of his tactics, and that has to be fixed before I'll be 100% bought into what he's doing. But according to the stats that were shared this morning, we're 1 point better off than this time last year. We've got far more goals scored this year, but we've got more goals conceded this year, and that's the problem. So until he fixes that issue, whether it's personnel or tactics, that's our problem. If he gets that right, I think you'll see a lot of people kind of go, okay, yeah, I'll give him a chance now.
I do also feel sorry for him in a way, because the amount of goals we've conceded from individual error this season has been huge. A bit like it's just been crazy. Like, you could take the West Ham game, giving away a penalty, and then the Aronson back pass or lack of back pass really from Brendan Aronson. And again, we conceded 2 goals, but that's not, when you look at the shape and you look at some of the goals we have conceded, that is down to the manager. And I understand that, but I do feel sorry for him. Sometimes when it is things like just individual errors from the defenders.
Yeah, Joe, you said it last night. You look at the 10 minutes either side of half time, and he's got a team talk ready for half time, and then we concede, and then he told them what to do at half time, and then we go out, we concede straight away, and it's just throw it in a bin.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's for me, who's not someone who's his biggest fan. I felt like he could have done no more against West Ham. I thought we actually did okay. I was quite surprised at the negative response to the fixture. I understand the one at Newcastle City even, and I know they're better sides, but even still, I know sometimes people see the league position and you're down there for a reason, but let's not kid about West Ham are a good side.
Yeah.
And they're on it. They're a good side. And I think a point against them isn't actually that bad. And I think, like Ollie said, it was individual errors. I do think, like you say, a lot of the time I get people telling me, it's to do with the defenders when we're always getting caught out at the back post. And I'm like, I'm not sure I agree with that, because it's the same goal every single time. It doesn't matter who your fullback is. Could be Roberto Carlos. They can't be in 2 places at once.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So they're asked to do a specific job. But yes, it was down to errors. And I think exactly like Joe said, the timing's brutal because it's right before. So anything he's prepared at half time. I even said during the game, like, just get to half time without conceding. I don't even want to go and get another. I want to give Jesse the opportunity to get him in at 1-0 up and see what he can do for the second half to make sure we hold on to this lead. Yeah. But unfortunately, he wasn't given that opportunity.
Yeah, there's elements of the individual errors are caused possibly by the system and by that frantic nature of football that we play. It leads to it. But then you look at the Brentford game and you see Jaeger, and they just absolutely implode during that game, and one after the other. And then you felt sorry for Aronson because he's passing the ball to Rocket, but he puts his head down as he passes the ball, and Rocket 2 yards inside, and you're like, that's another one. And they are preventable. They are, and their concentration. But when you're being asked to play at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you do get breaks in concentration. You do get tired. And maybe it's something in that the fact that we're conceding goals late in the half, is a concentration thing. We're starting to get tired. We've worked really hard. We need the break, and we're not getting there. And then a goal pops in. Man City as well conceded just before half time as well. And then you look at the start of the second half, and where we starting games quick enough. And Jesse's press conference today, he said, what he's spoke to players about is, why can't we play the way we play when we're 1-0 down? When we're 0-0? Why can't we do that?
It's like we need to concede before we actually start playing, and it's worrying. Oh,
my dog. Sorry.
And I was actually just gonna say what just kind of agree with Joe after the 2-2 draw. I saw a lot of negative comments as well, but I feel as a fan base we do sometimes have to remember who we are at the moment. We are down there as well. I know we're Leeds, and we could be beating West Ham. And it's things like that. And like you said, the table tells a different story. West Ham are a decent side. And I think a point against them is not the best, but I think you do take it. And I think we've got a nice, not necessarily, I wouldn't say easy, but we've got a nicer run the next 3 games. I think it's Villa, Brentford, Forest or something like that. So I'm not saying they're easy games because there's no easy games in the Premier League, but it's maybe we could pick up a few points there.
Yeah, I even at that though, looking at it, Villa are a different side under Emery. I think Forest seemed to have got a little bit of a kickstart for themselves. They've moved up a couple of places in the table. I don't see West Ham finishing the season anywhere near the bottom 3. I think they'll push off. That team was playing in Europe, and they've added to that team as well. Yeah. They managed to hang on to they managed to hang on to Declan Rice as well, which is a huge thing for them. So I don't think they'll be down there. I don't think Wolves will be down there at the end. I think those two will just move out of it at the end. But I still look and think Bournemouth aren't as good as us.
No.
Southampton aren't as good as us. Leicester aren't as good as us. And there's 3. So that's all we have to be better than 3.
Yeah. And the thing is things like, Everton as well. We're probably enjoying the downfall of Frank Lampard, but he might be gone next game, and then they just could get someone in and they just go up there. And that is the problem. And I'm not worried about when we come up against, the Chelsea, Cities and things like that, because we seem up for it. It's the teams around us that we're struggling to get the points. And but you know what? I don't know with Leeds, but the thing is, whatever happens the week before, we always know as Leeds fans the week after we're going to win the game 4 or 5-0. That's just how us Leeds fans work.
There's always a game in Leeds, especially this team, where if it clicks early on, they could just destroy somebody. We could batter somebody, but at the same time, we could get battered also. It's a coin toss of what version of Leeds is going to come out. Okay, so we've digested all that. We've kind of spent a bit more time on that, which is good. But with the main focus of tonight's stream is to talk about transfers and to talk about what we're doing. And the first one I suppose to start off with is Max Vober coming in. And just want to get your thoughts on the player coming in. He's come in. He's a left centre back who can play left back and also play as a 6. What do you really think about the signing? Where do you think he'll really play, or what's the point of bringing him in? Joe, we start with you. What do you think about Vober coming in?
I'm happy with it. It's not gonna get anyone excited. I was listening to the Inside Ellen Road podcast earlier, and Graham Smith was saying on there, like, it's not. He was paraded at halftime at Ellen Road, and there wasn't much reaction to it. But he's just a defender. It's not anything big, is it? You know what I mean? It's not your number 9s. I thought Graham made a good point there. But we needed defensive additions. I do think we're even if you look at the contracts, I was looking at it earlier. We're now starting to see the resemblance of Jesse's squad starting to form. Because in the summer, we're going to lose Ayling and Forshaw, and then there's even less, you know what I mean? So I think we're now starting to see his squad come together. And I think Vober's a good addition. There's a lot of Leeds fans negative. And listen, I've been negative of late, but I think a lot of it's like, well, why are you buying a centre-back who's not a left-back? But when you actually dial it back and see his position throughout his tenure, he has played left-back a lot. And he's played there at international level as well. And I've seen the assist that he got in the Champions League, which is a beauty. And I've said for a long time about Pascal, when he gets into them forward areas, unfortunately, he has to check back. He's always having to come back. You've never seen him being able to whip a ball, Yeah. And I think Vober's going to give us that, which will add to that created chaos that Jesse wants. If it goes out, we've got players in the box, bam, in it goes. I think it's a good addition, and it's at a decent price. I don't think he'll be on hefty wages. Otherwise, the club wouldn't have brought him in. So I think it's smart business. I don't know about him playing in the 6. We've had a defender there before, like with Koch, and that was a nightmare, weren't it? So, but listen, left back, left centre back. What does it mean? There's a lot of people think Strout's going to slot straight in at centre back. I tell you, it won't happen.
Guaranteed.
Cooper has always been the mainstay, and I think he's underappreciated. I know I seen you on Twitter. You would say, long term, I get it, but I don't think it'll happen instantaneously.
I've a love-hate relationship with Liam Cooper. I love seeing him getting on the end of a cross from a corner, because you see him getting. He's got to score this. He was desperately looking to score tonight as well. I just always think he's got a high-profile mistake in his locker, and that's the championship level player. And it's not just him; it's all the players that we had that came out of the championship. They've got that little error in them. The problem with a defender is when you make that mistake, there's very few people left to cover you. You're pretty much straight on goal to make a mistake. And he's not young. There is a point where we're going to have to move on. He's in his 30s. He's come to the end of his contract. There's going to be a point where we need to move on. And I don't necessarily think Vober is an out-and-out replacement for Cooper either. I'm in agreement with you here. We're in this weird world where people assume you have to have a left-footed, left-sided centre-back. There's a lot of clubs don't have that. They play with either 2 right-footers or 2 left-footers in centre-back. So it's possible, everyone's kind of looking at Robin Koch thinking he's safe on the right-hand side of the centre-back pairing. I don't think he is. I could easily see Vober slotting there beside Christensen and Strout going on the left centre-back. I think we'll start seeing that changing. But it's an interesting one. Ollie, what's your take on Vober coming in?
Yeah, I like Vober. Just to touch on the crowd reaction at him at half time, I saw that as well. Actually, I think it's a thing where if we're doing better in the league, the fans are happy with that signing. It's just I think that's just the crowd reaction. But it makes it, like you said, it's not a number 9, so we can't get too excited. The one thing I do like about him is the leadership. and I think that's what he's going to bring in. I like Cooper. He is a leader, but I think sometimes, like even Cooper with me, I like Cooper as a player, and I personally sometimes I can rely on him more than Koch, and I know that's a mad statement because a lot of people like Koch, but yeah, no, I think Vogel would be good, but with Coops, I still think, if you ever seen him do like a press conference, he looks down and he's a bit like, yeah, and like he looks up. I feel like we do need someone a bit like a bit more of a leader. I know he could be a leader behind the scenes, but I think we need more people like that because he's talking about confidence on a pitch. I think you're bringing someone with leadership skills on, that is going to help the morale and the morale, sorry, of the team. And I think he's a good player. And like you said about the left-sided centre back, with it being a left footer, I don't think Koch is safe either. I really don't, and I don't have an agenda against Koch, even though it might sound like that. But yeah, no, it's not a risky signing. Like Joe said, I don't think he's on millions, so he should be a decent signing. I just can't wait to see him play. Really,
sorry, Robin Koch, he's not been great. I don't understand the karma. You watch his performance against West Ham; he was woeful. He was awful. Yet I already see in the comments people still finding holes in Cooper's game. Yet no mention of Robin Koch. And Robin Koch was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, Coops is an easy scapegoat, and that's what I don't like. He's an easy target, exactly. And Koch, one thing I pointed out, I don't know if it was West Ham. Who do we play for? Newcastle. Good point. And they played actually very well. But one thing I did see of Koch is he doesn't like playing the way he faces. Go back to Meslier if you really need to. He has to turn around and just lump it up there. And I'm like, just calm down. You know what I mean?
Relax, yeah.
Relax. And I don't think Koch has been perfect this season. As much as people saying Coops is the problem, I do think our defence in general hasn't been brilliant. But I have to give props actually to Luke Ayling. Actually, I think the last couple of games he's been
excellent against West Ham. Yeah. Excellent against West Ham. I thought he looked his old self against West Ham, and yeah, it was great to see him bombed on the wing. And Joe, again, last night you said about Click when he came on, the two of them just straight away linked back up like they used to. There's a thing about Cooper, and it's important to say it and to be balanced on it. The Leeds captain is voted on by the players, and continuously, season after season after season, under different managers, the players have voted for Liam Cooper. So I don't think you can get away from the fact that there is leadership qualities there, and the players do look up to him. He's a player that when he finishes his time at Leeds, I would love Leeds to keep him in the club in a coaching capacity or keep him on the first, because he brings that behind the scenes and he does that, and he's got the experience and he knows where Leeds have come from and he knows where we are now, and he has that, and he's a Leeds fan. Like he's a Leeds lad.
And the thing is, as well, Joe, I'll never forget, like people that say he's not a leader and that, I find it mad because even under Gary Monk, when he wasn't playing at times and we had Pontus and Bartley, as soon as Cooper came back into the side, he would get the captaincy from whoever had it, and that's a guy who wasn't even playing week in, week out. So that shows you just how valued he is amongst the players and the managers that have worked with him. I think, it goes under.
It's one of those things, and when he doesn't make a mistake in a game, there's nothing said. Nothing. But as soon as he makes a mistake, it's a big deal. It's a huge, big thing. It's Cooper again. But we don't. Yeah. And I like to be balanced on things. If he plays well and he does well, which he did against Newcastle, you've got to put your hand up. The Robin Koch one for me, I think, and I'm in this bracket as well, I think a lot of people are judging Robin Koch on his early season form when he was playing beside Diego Llorente and he looked the better of the two of them. And you were like, but the bar wasn't set very high. The bar was pretty low at Llorente, and then you look at Koch beside him and go, well, he's doing okay. At least if we can get somebody else in beside him, we might be okay. And then as Cooper's come back in, you realize, well, he's pretty shaky as well. And there was a couple of moments, his body shape bothers me when he's taking kickouts from Meslier. He's very square. He faces Meslier. He doesn't open himself up to get quick ball, and he tends to get caught in possession, kick it out of play, or kick it into an attacker. And that's just basic positioning for me with Koch, and he lets himself down. There's a comment here that I just want to bring in. Now, on this, I did mention on my review of the game, Cooper turns his back on the ball. But what I will say on this is, I don't think it's cowardly. It's a reaction. It's a reaction to a shot from 2 yards away from you. I have done, as a player, I've done this when I've seen a shot coming. It's just, it's instinct. A couple more yards and you stand up and you block it. I think it's not on him.
I think Melier so far off his line. They weren't ready for that. They weren't ready for Aronson to make a mistake.
It's a great finish.
It's a good finish. Yeah, but by a good player, by a very good player as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's brave. The one thing I don't think he was Liam Cooper off is a lack of bravery. It's one thing I don't. He goes flying into tackles when 90% of the time he really shouldn't, but at the same time, he adds an awful lot there. I still think though, as a team, if we want to progress, we need I would say an entirely new back four. We need better quality players at that level. We need proven Premier League players or players at that level. So it's interesting. So just moving on then. So Bober's come in. We don't know where he's going to fit right now. There's a lot of people saying Leeds are still looking at a left back. There was a guy mentioned this morning. I'll try and find my notes here from AZ Alkmaar called Milas Kerkez, who looks decent as well. Not playing playing in Holland. It's not a great league outside of the top two teams. But came from AC Milan in the summer. But he's an out and out left back. So do we see any value in this? Do we think Leeds are going to bring in another left back, or do we think that's that, Joe?
So I've seen a couple more linked. Mensah as well, I think. There's another one, and there was a few others.
Vasquez, Parisi, Guerrero have all been linked.
I was like, no, I didn't see it. But then if you listen to Inside Ellen Road podcast, and I don't know if this is a slip of the tongue, it might be. But Graham Smith said the club because they were talking about Click leaving and the potential of a centre midfielder coming. Saying, they would ideally need to do one. But he said, the club have always said this window was a left-sided defender, a left-back and a striker. And I was like, oh, all right, okay. So I don't know. Maybe we will. It's fair point, it. Like, if you need to get rid of him, he's on big wages and that as well. But again, he's not going anywhere. I don't know. I can't see it. I can't see it because for me now they've bought a player that can do both. So they're probably just happy with that. We know what the board is like. So I'm not sure I agree we'll go get a left back. Yeah.
And what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've just done a bit of research on is it Milos Kerkez? Is that
Kerkez?
Yeah. Kerkez, yeah. And he's, like you said, an attacking left back. I think he's got a couple goals already this season and a few assists. He's played in Europa Conference as well. He's 19 years of age. And I saw something that I think it will be quite a low risk for Leeds to get a left back young. You're right with the Firpo thing. He's just still there, but he's fit. So why isn't he playing? Because he's not good enough. And I don't care what JT says, Joe. Yeah, Firpo isn't good enough for this football club. But
he was good at Blackpool once, though, mate.
Yeah. We got reminded of that, didn't we? But yeah, no, I think the board have been safe by getting a player that can play left back and left centre back. So we'll see if we need that left-sided centre back. We need a left back. We need a striker, and that's minimum for me. But are we going to see it? I just don't know.
I agree. I'm just going to just keep popping up in the chat. I was going to say, Chris, I have no idea who Janis Konstantinelius is. I haven't seen him linked. I saw it on the chat. I thought it was the bloke from the NBA player from the Timbers. From the Bucks. I thought you were talking about. I don't know yet. Maybe it'll pop up this morning. I haven't done any looking at anything since this morning's video, so I'll get to that and we'll have a look. A couple of the Fat Frank comments is there as well, and I did. This is my favorite. Do not sack him. Do not sack him. Leave him. He's doing great. Leave him alone. In terms of that, so we talk about other positions as well. Midfielders keep getting talked about, and with Click leaving, I have my own take on this. I have a sneaking suspicion there's a midfielder coming in somewhere. I could be wrong. I've been very wrong in the past. But Ollie, you've said left back, left back, striker. Is that it though? Do we need number 10 maybe as well as something a bit more creativity?
We need a new starting 11, but I mean, no, we do need a midfielder. I think that again, it was another maybe hierarchy speaking to Jesse about, no, we've got enough midfield coverage now with Greenwood and Forshaw, whose legs are made of Weetabix, and Greenwood. I just don't. I do like Greenwood. I think he's actually one of the players that's flourishing under Marsh, actually, and he's one of the one thing I do say about Greenwood. I've said it ever since I first watched him. The aggression needs to stop. I mean, I like it sometimes, but when it's a game and you bring him on, it's risky that he could just get himself sent off. I know he hasn't yet, but if you do watch his play, he's just a bit reckless. But that's what I
leg out a lot. He leaves the foot in. He likes it. I like a bit of niggle in a team.
no,
I like a team that
I
like
do
a
as
bit of-
well, but it's a game like I thought if you brought Greenwood on any earlier in the Newcastle game, he could have just, because it all started to get a bit heated at the end. I mean, a headbutt from Greenwood, I wouldn't pass him. You know what I mean? He could do
Not
that.
at
But
all.
yeah, we need a midfielder. We've been linked with a few, is it Ardon Jashri? Is that right?
Jasiri, yeah.
Jasiri.
Yeah,
I'm awful at
he's
pronouncing.
20 years of age, though. He's
Yeah.
very young.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of, I don't know. We definitely need midfielders. I think Rocker and Adams are decent, but the cover, if them two are gone, it's worrying, isn't it? It's worrying.
Joe, outside of the left back situation and the number 9, where's the gaping hole in Leeds' team?
Aside from those two, because we know they're the two that Leeds need to do. Yeah. But if you were to look at the midfield, if you look at the wide areas, is there anything else there you'd say, yeah, look, we probably need to replace somebody or bring somebody, and even from a cover standpoint? Yeah, I think my worry is, I mean, look, we need to see more from Brendan. It's really starting to worry me a little bit that, and maybe he'll get rested against Cardiff, which might be what he needs. Maybe the World Cup's affected him mentally, not playing as much as he maybe would have wanted. And not only that, that USA men's national team camp seems to have been an absolute shit show because there's all sorts coming out about that. So maybe that's
stuff.
Mad stuff. He's still only a young lad. So, there's issues there for me. You mentioned creative play. I mean, I loved Samu Saiz in the small period that we had. I think he would be fantastic, someone of that ilk, because he's just so good technically on the ball and be able to just pop it off, and go again. But I think the main worry for me is any long-term injury to an Adams or a Rocker. We would be itching, because even if in them areas, we've got so many now. Harrison played well through the middle when he came on. You've got Cini, you've got Nonto, you've got Somerville, you've got Rodrigo, you've got Joffe, you've got Greenwood, if you like. And if Bamford comes back, there's enough to see us through. But in that double pivot, if someone gets injured long term, especially Adams, because I don't have trust that Forshaw can play enough games. So then once Forshaw's out, who's coming in? Do you know what I mean? It's like, who is it? We go into the... I don't know. That'd be the main worry for me is a player in that position. Definitely.
Yeah, I prefer Adam Forshaw a little bit further up the pitch, because I think he's got a pass in his locker. He likes to move the ball pretty quickly. He's got those angle balls that we lost when Calvin left. He has them in his locker, but again, not fit enough often enough. I'd like to see us bring in a 10.
I really like. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go for it.
No, the one thing actually I do respect actually about Forshaw is he makes Leeds and the opposition play at his pace, and that's what I do like. He can slow a game down, and also that little drop of the shoulder he does quite a lot. It's quite nice. The classic Adam Forshaw drop of the shoulder. We also talk about Darko JB, who I think actually has been a decent addition, but like you said, if Rocker gets injured, if Adams, are they? I mean, you always get told if they're old enough and
they're good enough.
They're good enough. They're good enough, old enough. So they could be fitting in there, but I think it's vital. We need another midfielder.
This is the issue, and I'd love your take on this as well. The young players that we brought in, I think that's probably the one area of the park one area of the transfer policy that Victor Orta has pretty much got nailed on, is some of the young players he's brought in for pretty cheap money, and you include Meslier and Stroke in that list as well, Gallagher. Given where we are in the league table, if you do get an Adams injury, or if you do get an Adams Rocket injury, you are relying on those young players to come in, and given the position that we're on the table, is that just not a massive risk to take?
You go, Joe. You go.
I know you touched on it yesterday, Joe, about having an experienced head in there and bringing someone, but I just don't see the club doing that. They'll just continue to go with the profile that they have done, which is young and cheap. And again, I was thinking about this today because I was on the walk and I was thinking about Nonto, and we paid like 4 million for him, and you think what he's actually going to be worth.
He's looking at bargain already at the moment. Yeah, he's looking at bargain.
And then I thought about, this Meslier. So you are right in saying that Victor's got that side of the there's stuff boxed off. Strauch, we forget about Strauch, you know.
Perkins, you've got that Greenwood you can throw in there as well. You can go into the 21 team that's there now. There's a couple of Buttes in there as well.
It's amazing. It's amazing what he's done in that respect, and that will prove dividends in the future for sure. You know,
but for now,
about Meslier, for now, ideally we would like an old head, if you like, but I just don't think the club will do it. But not only that, I don't think they have the facilities for it. I don't think we have the money for it, because these players are on a lot more than what they'll be paying these young lads, and I'm not sure Leeds United will be willing to pump up the cash or even have it. The only reason they wanted CDK was ultimately because they knew it was sort of, you're going to get a return in investment at some point, you know?
They literally said that out loud.
Yeah.
We're buying him because he'd be worth more money in a couple of years' time. You're like,
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I never get, those that'll like back them to the hill, because it's like, well, no, we have got money, Joe, because where's that? No. They were going to buy CDK because they knew they were getting a return on their investment. They're not going to then go spend that money on someone else who's in his late 20s, early 30s, that might improve us, but they know in 3 years' time they're not getting all back for that.
So the big thing with that as well is, we said this last night, that this is the CDK money was coming from the 49ers, and that 40 or 60 million, whatever it was going to be paid for, was then to come off the valuation of the club when they bought the club. So that was they were getting their money back immediately when the sale of the club went through to them. So if the clubs were 400 million, knock 40 million off that straight away. That's the deal. We'll give you the 40 million now, you go do it, but it comes off the value of the club when we take it over. So we get, we're not out of pocket here. We'll give you what you need right now. And then they know, well, we're also going to sell them on probably in 2 years' time. We'll get 60 million for them. So we'll make 20 extra million on that. We'll make a profit. So it makes perfect business sense to a potential owner coming in to do something like that. But it's not what you want to hear as a fan of a club. You want to have these players coming in because he's a young player. But he's got experience in the European League, and he'll add more to what we have, and it'll help us all move up the table together, and this whole thing starts to grow. It's not what you're hearing. You're hearing, but we're bringing him in because we're going to sell him.
Yeah. Can I just say as well, because I'm seeing a few comments coming in, and I'd like to address Mark Bradley. When I'm not trying to live no dream again. I've said this before. Rads and wanting some more investment is nowhere comparable to Peter Ridsdale, right? No, it is not by any stretch of the imagination. We are asking for a little bit of investment. The club spent 100 million in this one, but they also recuperated that. Right, they also got that from the sales of Calvin and from Rafinha. The club, the manager was telling us there is not a cat in hell's chance we'll get relegated. This is what the man of this football club told us. Doesn't fill me with confidence with what they're doing. For what it's worth, I don't think we will. No. But I'm not asking for us to go out and splurge mad money. I'm not asking that. You're allowed to want a little bit more without saying. I think it's so lazy for people to go, oh, you want another Ridsdale, do you? And it's like, well, no, we just want a little bit more. I'm
100% with you on that, because, and again, you have to look at what's being done. You're in the Premier League, so every year you have got to improve your squad because everybody else is. If you want to be competitive and you want to, you can't just go, well, look at the year we didn't spend anything in January. We sat back last year and we said we're good, and we really nearly weren't good. It was way too close for comfort in the end. Leeds, and again to your point, Joe, they spent 100 million, but they brought back in 101 million. So they were a 0 or a -1 was the number. Not a lot of money to spend in the Premier League. And if you look over those last two transfer windows, Leeds have spent £1 million. That's our cash. That's what we spent. And also you have to look at the deals. 90% of deals are done are structured like it's 6 million up front and 2 million a year and 10 million if he does this and 15 million if he does that, right? We went out and we sold our two prize players cash up front, or you're not getting them. Deliberately designed. That's our money. We can spend that right now. And they spend it. It's good business, but there's no ambition there. There's nothing above that to say, here's another 40 million to get this player, another 60 million to get this player. We're going to, we were all told year 3, that's when we push for Europe. This is year 3 and we're still in 15th or 14th position in the league without the investment needed to get to that. So I don't think this is I'm very conscious that we don't need to go crazy with money because no one needs another 16 years in the Division 1 and the Championship. But at some point, you've got to show some sort of endeavour to throw some level of cash at it as well, outside of what you're bringing in.
1 million across 3 January windows is not acceptable for a Premier League club for me. I will go as far as to say it is negligent, it is naive, it's not acceptable. 1 million in 3 January windows? Come on, I'm not asking for the world, do you?
If you see a team come up now from the Championship and you were to say, over the next 3 windows, they will spend £1 million,
Exactly.
what's your prediction of where they're going to be? But they're not going to get 3 transfer windows. I mean, Championship of the 2 of them.
Yeah.
Now we've rode our luck a little bit. We did really well. Rafinha coming in was a fantastic signing. It managed to keep us going. Calvin form under Bielsa was brilliant as well. That kept us going. But they're always going to leave. And the fear for me is this Leicester model bullshit that's hanging over us of, of who's the next one we're selling. We're selling them before we've even bought them. And you're looking at Meslier now. And I wanted to talk about Meslier just for a bit when we get onto this, but strong links today. Apparently, pinch of salt. Chelsea have actually made inquiries now to Leeds about the player, as opposed to just the usual keeping an eye on the situation. How important do you think it is to keep Meslier, or do you think he goes in the next 2 transfer windows? Ollie, what do you think?
I don't think he goes in January. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he goes January. Summer's a different story. I don't know where Leeds will be in the summer. I really like Meslier. This is going to be controversial. Is he replaceable? I think he might be. I think he is. I think Joe is. He wants something. I really like Meslier. Okay, I really do. But I just feel like where we're at the moment, we won't be able to keep on to him. And that's all I'm saying. There's nothing. I'm never doubting Melier's ability, because he saved us thousands of times. He saved us a lot. But yeah, I didn't see anything about the Chelsea inquiry, which is a bit worrying. But I just think it would be absolute suicide. And I mean, they probably will do it now. Said this, but for them to get rid of Meslier in January, I think I like Joel Robles, but he's not keeping us up.
No.
You know what I mean? And I just quickly want to touch before we go completely off it, the board. Before you two spoke, I was very much like, God, the board gets some stick. Like I think Rads has done enough now, and I think it's time. I think he's, I think we're all thanking him for what he's done here, but I think it's now time to move on. But if you actually put it into what you guys have just done there, that's why I didn't say anything. I was sitting back and going, God, these two actually know what they're talking about, don't they? Do you know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, and you guys have hit the nail on the head with that. That's all I wanted to say. But Meslier hopefully shouldn't go in January, but you just do never know. You never know.
Ollie, I'll add one more for you there as well. Leeds have the second lowest spend on wages in the Premier League as well.
I mean, I might as well be watching you guys at this point, because I didn't even know any of this.
Do you want to scare you that? I think we are a couple of 100 million per month per year off scum.
Wow.
Hundreds of millions behind.
I mean, they famously overpay their players, but still, that is mental. And yeah, it's just the ambition is just, it's worrying at the moment. And this whole Leicester model and the 3-year thing and how much we're spending, we have to sell a player to bring in a player. Like, we're only thinking maybe now about getting a midfielder in only because Click's gone. And I just think there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I'm worried about as a fan of the club.
I think we'll be okay, but I think that's dependent on signing a striker and maybe a midfielder.
We need a striker, and I don't want to become that fan or that YouTuber or whatever that goes, "Oh, I'll take anyone." But I seem to be doing that in videos. I seem to be going, "Che Adams, yeah, get him." The bloke from Coventry, get him. We just need to, and we're becoming desperate at this point that we actually need a striker, but we do need the perfect striker, and I don't know who that is at the moment. What do you guys? Oh no, actually, go back to the whole Meslier speak.
Yeah,
I'm taking over the streak.
Someone's getting me a list of strikers we've been linked already. Joe, what's your take on the Meslier situation? Like, he's obviously, he's a smashing goalkeeper. We said last night, I'm in the Roy Keane school of goalkeepers. Their job is to save the ball. When they save the ball, great, you've done your job. Well done. But he is a bit special. He is a fantastic shot stopper for 22 years of age. And I think he's now, as of this weekend, he is 44th in the all-time shot saves in the Premier League history. 40 already after 3 seasons. Now, there's 2 sides to that. 1, he's doing great. He's saving lots of shots. 2, just way too many shots being kicked at him. Way too many. I mean, after 3 years to be up to that stage. But Joe, where do you think we go with Meslier?
Oh, I think he's phenomenal, mate. I do. I see a lot of people. I had this debate with someone on Twitter the other day who said he's easily replaceable, and I just don't think he is. I don't rate Robles. I don't rate Klaassen. No, I don't rate either. I would be, like you say, to sell him now would be criminal, and I don't think they will. For me, this might sound, over a little bit over, but I think I want Kepa money for him. Kepa went for 70 million. If Chelsea knocking at the door, I want more than what you paid for Kepa. I do think Meslier will go to a top European club. Chelsea wanted him from Lorient before we even did, and he decided against that move, because he was too young at the time, just coming to the team, etc. And it's good when you hear footballers have that kind of brain instead of just going, "Yeah, I'll go for it. It's Chelsea." He bided his time. We managed to pick him up for 5 million, which looks so cheap, man. It's insane, really. And I think he's phenomenal, and we definitely lose something. I think, like, for him to have the record for the most number of clean sheets at, under the age of 21, beating Joe Hart, but Joe Hart was playing at Manchester City. He was playing at Leeds United that we're conceding a lot of chances, so it can't go underappreciated that. And there was talk of Bayern Munich, and I've seen Bayern Munich
as well, looking at them.
But there was talk even last season about PSG, and people like Donnarumma, and people are like, "Oh, they're going for Sommer," but Meslier is also long term. You've got, and I think my worry is, as a fan, is De Gea, Lloris, all these keepers are coming towards the back end of the career. When you buy a keeper, you want him there long term. You want him to have a settled back four. So it won't just be Chelsea that'll have their eyes on Meslier. And I think maybe if we can hold on to him as long as possible, at one point we might get a little bit of a bidding war. And it's all, listen, I hate, talking about money, but ultimately, we can reinvest that in a couple of players, I think. So there will come a time. Just need to ensure that whoever we get is the right replacement.
Yeah, definitely. Can I just my statement of he is irreplaceable. No, he is replaceable. Maybe was a bit out there, but
no, I won't say that to you, bro. I want someone on Twitter said that. He's easily replaceable. I don't think he is.
I don't think he's easily replaceable. I meant more the fact that the money you'll get for him would be we could easily replace. I still think, like you've said the stats there. Maybe I should come with more stats. But you said there, about the shot stopping, about the saves and things. I do think Meslier is the perfect goalkeeper for Leeds United. I do. It's just that worry of how long we can keep him for. All the clubs interested in him. And when I said about the replaceable, I meant more the fact the money we'd hopefully get from him. I want Kepa figures for him because he can, but he will be that top level goalkeeper.
That's the key thing. It's not what you're paying for him now. He's a 22-year-old goalkeeper. Yeah. Most 22-year-old goalkeepers aren't even in the first team of their teams. They're still playing under 21s or reserve football. It's what he's going to be worth when you sell him in the next 10 years. It's when he hits 29, 30, 31, 30, when he gets to his peak. Goalkeepers don't peak till their 30s. So he's got... And then you look at it now, most goalkeepers are going way beyond 30s now. They're going into their 40s and they're still playing because...
He could have won World Cups and that by that age.
Correct.
Probably France's number one. He might have a couple of World Cups to his name. Do you know?
And looking at the young players that France are bringing through, it's a very, very strong possibility that what they're bringing through is going to be a cracking team.
And that's why I'm worried. I'm worried for the summer. I don't think he can go in January. I just think it would be...
Suicide.
Suicide, like I said, it'd be absolute suicide. The summer, though, depending where Leeds finish, does a player like him with that potential want to just be hitting 16th each season? He wants to probably push himself, but with goalkeepers, like you said, they peak when they're 30. There's no rush for him to leave, but will he want to? That's another question.
It's the money thing as well. Like you look at. I'm shocked that Donnarumma is still at PSG because he's not going to win anything major at PSG. He's going to flop around he's going to win a couple of French Cups and he's going to win the league every year in France and he's going to get to the semi-final of the Champions League and never win it. I'm surprised he hasn't moved on. I'm surprised Chelsea haven't gone after him because the language that Todd Bowley is using is whatever you spend on a player will blow you out of the water. Yeah. So he's being Johnny Big Bollocks throwing around huge amounts of money. So, you want to throw some money our way, I'll take it, but it's got to be mad money before you get him because he's got I think he's on a contract till 2025 anyway. So he's got
4 years, bro. I've got
4 years more. Yeah, so you're not in any rush to sell him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Real quick, we'll get to striker, but real quick, I just want to address this because it popped up last night. Third party takeover rumors. I think it's bullshit. If I'm being honest.
So do I. That's why I haven't made a video about it.
I saw a great conspiracy theory on Twitter, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think, with conspiracy theorists, my thought on it is, if you spend so much time thinking everything's a conspiracy, chances are you're wrong on most of them. You might be right on one, but but this one of the conspiracy theories was, this is being leaked out to force the 49ers to buy early.
That's what I saw as well.
Yeah. Which, do you know what though? Like, I was like scratching, and Ollie's right. Like, YouTube game, you make a nice thumbnail out of this. Leeds set for East Europe, not East European, sorry, Eastern investment from Qatari and all that. Trust me, it's banging, but there's no meat on the bones. There's a few sentences with nothing in there at all. So it's like, has someone just made this up? Like, because there's nothing in there. I think they've seen Rads at the World Cup, 49. Like,
it's an easy one to throw together. I think I don't think there's any meat in the bones. It is the fact that the three things that I picked up. I looked at a couple of different places today. And I read and also where it's come from. It's come from the Daily Mail.
Yeah,
and anything that comes from Mail Sport, I'm like, you just get a big bag of salt and empty it on top of that, and then you can have a read of it. Unnamed source, unnamed buyer, no bid. I'm like, there's nothing in this. This is a nothing article. It's a cheap click for me. That's all it is. We'll move past it and we'll get past it. There's a comment here just about, I'll pick it up because I'm going to be Irish for a second, lads, and I apologize. What about Kelleher as a replacement? Quiveen Kelleher is a decent young goalkeeper, but I think he's a decent young goalkeeper, and I think he'll be a decent middle 20, 30s-year-old goalkeeper. I don't think he'd be the best Irish goalkeeper, and I don't think he's probably as good as people think he is. My personal opinion, I'm probably going to be massively wrong and be told I'm an idiot, but I don't think he's at that level. Livakovic is the one that I kind of keep looking at. His name keeps popping up, and I think Leeds are possibly getting their ducks in a row ready for the summer. And I think there's a possibility Meslier will go in the summer, and if he does, maybe Livakovic is the keeper they bring in to replace him. Good replacement. Whether he's replaceable or not is an interesting. Think how many goalkeepers Leeds have had over the last 16 years, and how many of them were actually decent. Outside of our year with Kasper Schmeichel, who had his own problems with the Leeds fan base, just constantly abusing him, no matter how well he played, singing about his dad. So yeah, it's a really good goalkeeper. And look at Chelsea; they spent huge money on Kepa. They brought in Mendy. They're not sure which one they want, and now they're looking at another goalkeeper. So it's you can get the wrong one as well, and it's a very bad position to get wrong. So I think Robles is fine, but I do think we go down with a few-star goalkeeper, not because he's a bad keeper, but just because he's not as good as what we've got, and we concede a lot of shots, and we need a good shot stopper, and that's when
he looks sometimes just a bit. He shows his age sometimes when he's in goal. Robles, but with goalkeepers, there's not many like brilliant ones around. So when you hit one like we have with Meslier, it's gonna be, I mean, it's a pleasure to have Meslier, but it's just keeping on to him, isn't it? And he's still so young, which is really good and also really bad, because I don't know how long he's got at Leeds United. And that's do you think that's just a Leeds model as it is? Or do you think that's the Leeds model under Rads? Do you think if we had new owners, they try and keep onto these players and be a bit more of a hard bargain?
Yeah, I would hope somebody with bigger pockets. Rads doesn't have a huge amount of money. He's a multi-millionaire, just shy of a billionaire, but it's not huge money. I think he's, again, probably down in the bottom 5 owners of a club in terms of revenue that he has as well. So he doesn't really have the resources. I would hope somebody coming in with bigger pockets would be like, right, lock all these lads down, get them bigger contracts and lock them down, and then let's bring in some players. You have to show players that you're willing to invest in the team. I mean, players look at new lads coming in, they go, yeah, okay, he's a good player coming in. I'll stick around. We're doing the right things. We're shopping in the 10, 15, 20 million pound bracket. We need to be shopping in the 35, 40, 50 million pound bracket at this stage. So that's where the issue is for me. We move on then just real quick before we wrap up. Just talking about strikers, and Joe, you asked last night, you said to me, where are the 20 million pound strikers? And I went, I don't know. Or the 20 goal a season strikers are, sorry. The strikers Leeds have been linked with Martin Terrier, who's a left-sided player who can play up front. Can rule him out. He's done his cruciate ligament to be out for the next 8 months, which is a shame because I really like him. I think he could be a smashing player, but he's out, done. You've got Guy Correas or Gia Correas, so whatever way you want to pronounce it, at Coventry. You've got Noah Lang, who comes with an anti-Semitic bag of problems with him. You've got Boulay Dia from Senegal, who's at Torino but is owned by Villarreal. So not an easy transfer. And you've got Bamba Dieng being linked again, who got off a plane, went to Nice, failed the medical, and ended up back where he started. That's the caliber we're being linked with right now. The names floating around. Do you think any of these come in, or do you think we need to go shopping, or is there anyone you would think we should bring in? Joe, what's your take on it?
Listen, I'm banging the drum for Shea.
Really?
Yeah, Joe. I'm big on Shea.
All right.
Yeah, I am. I think he would offer us an awful lot. Now, of course, he's not a goal getter, right? He's not. I'm not saying that, but he would be able to do everything but that. You know, I was speaking to a Southampton fan the other day, and he said, like, he's missing Danny Ings. Like, he was never the goal scorer. He was the creator for Danny. Yeah. He said, you know, he would give Danny, and remember that season, Danny Ings bagged loads before he moved to Villa. Loads, right? And I just think, my dog, even he's sick of me talking about shit. I think add him and because Shea doesn't just play as a 9, he can play off the left. He can basically play anywhere, Shea. So, you know, there's a lot of people that say he'll be a massive waste of money, etc. But Southampton are in the hunt for a striker. I think he'll be relatively cheap and in the ballpark. There's a reason Victor has wanted him season after season. I'm quite big on Shea, and I think he's doable. I also like the kid Guy Caris as well. But other than that, outside of that, I don't think there is much. You know, it's really, really difficult to score 20+ goals. I think we need to share them around, and having someone like Shea being also goal scorer and provider at times would work for Leeds, for me personally. You know, people are talking about Josh Sargent from Norwich. No.
But I talked to Alex and Michael on the American Leeds podcast about, and they're big on Sargent. He's an American guy, but what they said is if you look at what he's doing in the Championship now and look at how he's playing, the problem, and Pukki's in the same bracket as him, they're playing for Norwich. Yeah. They need to get away from Norwich to make any kind of, like, Sargent did it in Europe, and fair enough, he did it, but he needs, I don't know, maybe there's a goal scorer in there, maybe not, he doesn't do the rest. There's nothing. I'm not a huge fan of Sargent, but I can see some merit in him. Same with Shea Adams. I don't think Shea Adams is our savior. But if you go back and look at when Leeds played Southampton at the start of the season, Shea Adams gave us an awful time. So, and then if you go back to great Leeds combinations over the years, Beckford and Becchio didn't score as many goals as Beckford did, but he did a lot of the heavy lifting for Beckford to get on the end of things. So those partnerships are important as well. I wouldn't have a huge problem. I'm going to put this man's name on the screen. We have yet to be linked with him this January, but Ben Burton Diaz, that's a penny in the jar. For saying his name. I don't think he does what Leeds want him to do. He doesn't do the pressing. And that's the problem with him. That's why there's so many clubs have looked at Diaz and then not moved for him. There's a reason why.
Yeah, I say this all the time. There was actually a piece written where it said many scouts have gone to see him. No one's pushed the button. And then people go to me, oh, it's because it's coming to end of his deal. Yeah, now. It wasn't a year ago or 2 years ago. And I just think it's because it's a sexy name. I hate to say it and like to try and be like negative towards anyone, but ultimately, no one knew about this kid when he was Ben Brayton. No. Then he went and played for Chile, and all of a sudden was on
Diaz on the end. He found Diaz from somewhere.
Diaz. No, not for me. There's a reason, like you say, I agree with you, that scouts who know much more than any of us are not pushing the button on him, and he's still at Blackburn.
And by the way, right now, any team from outside of the UK can sign him on a pre-contract agreement, and nobody has. Right. So that's still there. Just real quick, Adama Traore, I think he's got the hardest working agent. His agent and Chris Wood's agent are the two hardest working agents in football. Linked with everybody. 3 years ago, just before COVID, it was Spurs were going to pay 50 million for Traore, and then it was 30 million, and then nobody really wanted him, and then Wolves stopped playing him, and then he went out on loan to Barcelona, and they went, no, we don't want him either. And now he's back. I watched Traore in Wolves games, especially since the links came back up again. And every time he crosses a ball, you need to watch the reaction of the Wolves players in the box, and that tells you everything you need to know. When the ball goes in, they just go. Yeah, like they've seen it, they know it. It's day in and day out, they're getting that from him. So I just think he's got a fantastic agent who's working really hard to get him a big money move, and I don't rate him. Outside of being big and lubed up, I don't think there's much more to him. Ollie, in terms of number 9s, where's your head at with this?
I'm not fully against Shea Adams at all. I'm not fully against him. I like the one big thing was how much of a nightmare he was against us. And that really, because we had, I think it was a lot of rumours around that time. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. He came on, gave us a good game. I like, the thing is, I think we've got a lot of players that are very good creatively. And you're saying that Che is missing his Danny Ings. I think, I understand that. But then I don't think if Che Adams comes to Leeds, he's got a Danny Ings there.
No,
So do you know what I mean?
Maybe actually, yeah. Well,
yeah, it could work. It could work. But I also, I argue, and this is controversial. Should I say it, or will I just retract my statement after?
Controversial. Go for it.
If Rodrigo's not scoring goals, he doesn't do anything. But I also do respect the fact I like players like that, because I think I'm not saying Salah is exactly his level, but Salah can be in a game, like not in a game at all, and then come up with a hat trick, and you're like, oh, where did that come from? And Rodrigo can do that, and his goal against West Ham did show, like, okay, look, he's not doing loads. One thing I do criticize Rodrigo on is his weight of pass. I don't know if you watch it. His weight of pass is awful. The amount of times we could be on counter attacks, but it's just that bit too much or that bit too short is bad. But the one player I actually really do like the look of is actually Victor Gyökeres from Coventry. I think he's got a bit of the Haaland about him. And I know that's a mad statement to say, but I think he's young, he's big. I saw a goal he scored against Sunderland, and it was just like, get out of the way, everyone. I'm having a shot here.
Smashed it, yeah.
And smashed it bottom bins. And I was like, I do like that. But yeah, like you said, there's no strikers is the hardest market, and that's why they cost the most, because, if you want a striker who's going to get you 20 goals, you got to pay for him. You got to pay for him. And there's not really many strikers out there. So I don't know what Leeds are going to go with. I hope Walter's done his research and we can get a striker in.
Hey, apparently he's got a list with 4 or 5 players in every single position, except when somebody gets injured and we need somebody immediately. The list goes missing. I like Gyökeres as well. But what I will say about him, or Gyökeres, or whatever way his name's pronounced, what I will say about him is you're in the Matthias Vidra, you're in the Chris Wood territory. They got goals in the Championship, but did they do it when they came into the Premier League? They kind of struggled. But the other side to this, and I used to look back years, was I'm showing my age here. This guy played for, I think it was Forest for a while. It was Jan Arge Fjortoft. I don't know if you remember him, going way back. And I used to always say to my dad when we were watching him playing, if a Man United or an Arsenal bought him, he'd bag 40 goals a season. But no, the big clubs don't buy him. It's all, he stays with the lower league clubs and the lower Premier League clubs, and he gets maybe 6 or 10. But I always thought he was a decent striker. And you could be the same with the likes of Vidra as well. As if a big team took a gamble on him, maybe he'd do better, But I think Gyökeres is in the same bracket as that. Apparently, there've been talks. There's been a conversation. 16 million is the fee to get him. I don't think that's huge money anymore. I think it's pretty reasonable amount of money, and it's definitely in the ballpark that we shop in. A lot of people asking about Joffy. So just real quick, we start with you, Ollie, on this one. What's going on with Joffy? Is it a manager system thing, or is it something else?
I think me and Joe might have chatted about this. It's about a system. I don't think he works in Jesse's system. Joffy is, I like Joffy. I think Marsh, didn't he say his comments today? Was it today about that he was actually annoyed at himself for how long it took? He wanted
to get him on the 75th minute, but he couldn't get him on because players are playing well at the time.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm not against that fully, because I think sometimes changes can affect a game, and we've seen that countless times with not even just Leeds, with any games, can change it good and can change it for a bad. But yeah, Joffy, I think. I just think, I don't think he's the answer. I don't. And I think he may be the answer for the future. And I'm not worried about Leeds United in the future. I'm really not. If we can keep on to him, the Meliers, the Joffy, Greenwood, Cody Drama. It's just these players nowadays, they want game time now. And I don't know if we can give Joffy game time now, so he might move on. I don't know about you guys. Do you think he's the answer? If we didn't bring in any strike and we're going to play Joffy for the rest of the season, would you be happy with that?
I think if you got to run of games, we get more from him. I think he needs to, because he's not playing right. He's in the Creswell mold right now of he's not playing for the 21s because he's sitting on the bench of the first team, and he's not getting enough minutes with the first team to really be sharp. And my biggest criticism of him, even going back to the last preseason friendly, mid-season friendly that we played before, he looked a half a yard just sharpness off getting on the
Yeah.
end of a couple of balls and toe poking it in. And I think that's just games. He needs to play games. For me, if we're not going to use him, I wouldn't be against sending him out on loan for the season to the championship and let him go and get that confidence. Let him go and bang in some goals and bring him back. He's only 20. He's still only 20 years of age. He's got plenty of time. Joe,
But
what
we
do you
need
think?
that striker. We
do
need
need
that
that
striker in.
yeah.
If Joffrey's going, but again, it's 1 in, 1 out again. It's
yeah.
I think he could do with some support there. He can't be that lone man. He can't. You know, I think I have Joffrey. I mean, I may be massively wrong here, but I'm going to bring it back to the point of Shea. But I just think Joffrey would be very good feeding off someone. You know, once you have, I guess, let's say Bamford's in the side, right? I think someone spoke about it yesterday. I think when Bamford got the ball, everyone knew where they needed to be, right? Because he could bring others into play. And I think Joffrey needs someone of that ilk, similar to that, to be able to work alongside and have that continuity with. I think there's a great player in there. I did expect him to kick on much more than he has, and he's not getting enough minutes, etc. But how can you when Rodrigo's finding the back of the net? And I'd argue, and this is just my person, and I'm not Rodrigo's biggest fan, we look worse when Joffrey's leading the line than we do with Rodrigo, and that's saying something, I think. So I think we need, I don't know what the answer is. I would like him to play with someone and maybe get, you know, it comes like second nature, doesn't it? If the ball's coming, Joffrey's already on his bike because he's aware that's Shea, or, you know, he's going to knock it down and put him in behind, you know what I mean? And he's away. So, and he's so good when he, for me, players just seem to bounce off him at times. You know, he's so good.
He bulldozes his way through people. He's got that low center of gravity, big shoulders, strong build. But there's a comment there, and it's possibly something in it. Does he drop into a number 10 role? Is that what we're looking at with him, ideally? Or is he a striker who plays better in a 2 up front? Like, is he a big man, little man kind of partnership thing?
I think he is personally. But when was the last time at Leeds United we played with 2 strikers?
When was the last time anybody played with 2 strikers?
That's the problem nowadays, isn't it?
4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or 3-4-3.
Yeah, it's not Jermaine Defoe and Peter Crouch up there anymore, is it? It's you know, that was
and Phillips as well. There was a partnership.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't play like that anymore, and that's why I am worried for Joffrey, because, like Joe said, I don't personally think he can play the lead man. He does score goals if you give him a run of play, but again, is he more of a moments player? Are we thinking that Norwich goal, how massive it was for our season? And yes, he had a few good games after that. Maybe he does need some more game time. Maybe I'm being harsh.
Jesse's played with the 4-2-2 before, though. No,
he has, yeah.
He had, yeah, but I mean, did he play with Joffrey there though?
No, I'm just saying though.
No.
It was the first system he played when he came in was the 4-2-2-2.
Yeah,
that was the system brought in,
against
and then
Leicester,
abandoned it immediately because what were we calling it? Inverted penis ball at one point, square ball we're calling it.
I think at the start, a lot of players were still Bielsa, weren't they? And that was Jesse's problem, that he couldn't actually get the team playing the way he wanted to play. So he kind of just went, all right, fine, we'll get back to a bit of a. The thing is, what we got promised was how Marsh's football was going to be very similar to Bielsa, and I think if anything, it's the complete opposite. You know, it's the complete opposite.
I think there's times when we go forward and we're in the final third, I can see the comparison.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's also a thing where I was actually speaking to someone at work about this. Wasn't even a Leeds fan, just watching Leeds. I do like the pressing, but I saw the other night against I think it was actually against Newcastle, 4 players run towards the ball. Someone's made a pass, literally a simple 5-yard pass, as 4 players out of position, and then there's that massive bit of green in the middle, and you're like, oh god! And then your right back's all the way up there, so there's a massive gap there, and I'm just thinking, what is going on? Like, it does worry me that it's like 10-year-olds chasing a ball sometimes.
Well, there's a moment in every game where you see our middle 2, our wingers, and our back 4 turn to face our goal and burst into a sprint. And in every single game, you just see that moment they go, and it's like shit. And like
shit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Joffrey is the answer, but he's he definitely he needs game time, and I think we only give him game time. I'd love to see him at West Brom. I really would love to see him at West Brom under. Is it
Carlos.
who? Yeah, Carlos is there now.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, there's been links there, but I think
Keep an eye
again,
on him as well.
yeah, I know. I wouldn't
next
mind
guy.
seeing Carlos, you know, and I don't want to talk about how, because we've spoke about Poch, spoke about Carlos and things like that. I don't want to talk that because I don't hate Jesse and I don't necessarily want him to leave right now. But I just think, you know, that Carlos there would be a brilliant option.
I think there's a strong possibility that if everything that's going on with the US national team at the moment and Berhalter, if he goes, which it's looking like he will, Marsh wants that job and they want him. Now, whether he said before he hasn't spoken to US soccer, it's a very weird system that they hire people over there. But you could lose him just out of, well, that's my dream job and I'm going to take it. And then all of a sudden you're in a position. And I think being at West Brom, Corberan is an easy get. I think he would leave West Brom for a club like Leeds. I think that's a benefit.
Do you think he would come back?
Oh, I think he would. Yeah, I think he would. Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't know. Well, maybe. I'd love to have him back. I just don't know if he would.
Do you say you would or you wouldn't, Joe?
Yeah, no, he would. Yeah,
100%.
Of course, he'd jump at the chance to come to Leeds in the Premier League. I think, yeah.
Oh, you're getting me excited now.
I know, yeah. Stop, temper, relax. Lads, I'm going to wrap it up because it's getting on and I really appreciate you taking time. And before we go, Joe, you did this last night. I'm going to copy you and do the exact same thing. Just let everyone know where your content is, where your channel is. And for everyone watching this who's not subscribed to either of them, highly recommend that you go and do that. They've been fantastic for me tonight to help me out with this. So if you can get over to their channels and subscribe to their channels as well, I'd appreciate that. Joe, start with you. Let's let everyone know what you're all about.
Yeah. Just your football show. A little bit not as well thought out as Joe's channel. A little bit emotional at times, but it's good. So please come on over and make sure you support these two as well because they've both been on my channel as well and they're fantastic content creators in their own right. So yeah,
appreciate that, Joe. Thanks, Ollie.
Yeah, just it's just Ollie Ward, as simple as that. But like I said, I think Joe kind of shows us up a bit. Do you know what I mean? Because me and Joe can be a bit emotional after a game. He's the calm one out of us three, I think.
I take a day after a game before I review it. So I have 24, 48 hours of me, bouncing my head off
that's
the wall
probably.
And down.
I do it 5 minutes after, and I'm still going, how the hell have we lost that? But no, it's Ollie Ward. At the moment, I'm just doing transfer videos because that's all the talk at the moment.
Guys, massive thanks. I really appreciate it, and I've really enjoyed this again. Highlight my week this week has been the streams. I've been busy a couple of days on streams, but I really enjoyed it. Massive thanks, and to everyone watching, really appreciate it as always. There's no videos from me tomorrow or Sunday. I'll be back on Monday with some form of a review of Cardiff and the daily news. But if you want to get Joe, you didn't watch along this weekend? Anyone doing watch?
I am doing, mate. I'll have my preview out tomorrow, and then I'll be doing the game on Sunday as well.
Wicked. Ollie, what's your plan for the weekend with content? Are you putting some stuff up?
Maybe a couple of transfer things. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really know what I'm going to do Cardiff game yet. I might just sit there and watch Joe stream.
I'll be right there with you. Folks, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Please, bye.